Well, it's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, I wanted to make a video about the Stephen Fulton versus Brandon Figueroa fight because I was there, and I wanted to just kind of give my extended thoughts on that because I didn't have a chance to really talk as much as I wanted to when I was at the actual fights. But first of all, let me just say to both fighters, great fight. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good fight because Brandon Figueroa, fought the normal Brandon Figueroa type of fight where he uses his size advantage because he's a big 122-pounder, and he tries to barrel down on top of you and pressure you and back you up. And I thought he fought that fight brilliantly. He had Fulton on his heels. He had Fulton buzzed and hurt a couple times in the fight. But Fulton, I thought, did a great job of staying composed, and I thought Fulton did a great job of on the insides at times out fighting Brandon Figueroa when he had space. When he had space to punch and maneuver, I thought he did a good job sharpshooting Brandon Figueroa, throwing right hands and jabs, and just finding good creative ways to score points from the outside when he had the space and distance. And it was a really good fight. Now, was it a robbery like people say? I don't think so. I think it was a close fight. I know when I was at the fights, I was talking my shit last night, so I was like, yeah, it wasn't no close fight because I was upset at the crowd and how they just disrespected Stephen Fulton. But was it a close fight? I mean, yeah, probably maybe. I mean, I have to go back and rewatch it, but I think the right man won. I think the 116, 112 scorecards were fair and just because even if you look at the combi box numbers, like Fulton landed less punches, but he also threw less, and he landed on a 7% higher connect ratio. So what that tells me is that he was the cleaner, more effective punches, because if he wasn't, Figueroa would have probably put him on the canvas like he did to Nettie, but he couldn't find that. He couldn't find the extra bit of quality to break Fulton down and put him on the canvas. He had him buzzed a couple times, but didn't really drop him or put him in danger of any sort of stoppage. So I thought Fulton showed a great job of his versatility and his ability to move and sharpshoot and jab and throw the straight right hand. And people always like, what's funny, right? I'm gonna say this. What's funny about Stephen Fulton and American fighters, a lot of American fighters, they get criticized for being very slick and not engaging and running. But then you get a guy like Stephen Fulton, who his last two fights, he's fighting two young, prime, undefeated world champions. One in my dear friend Angelo Leo, and another in Brandon Figueroa. And in both instances, Fulton actually fights the fight on the inside and shows that he's stronger than people think, and that he's not just a slick fighter. And he actually outfights the inside fighters. And I don't really think there's being enough credit put on his name or enough credit thrown his way for that, because I really feel like if one of the more hyped up fighters in boxing, like let's say like if a Canelo or Gervonta Davis or someone like that, someone who has a big name was doing what Fulton has done his last two fights, there would be videos, there would be articles, there would be no end to the kind of praise they get. But because Fulton isn't a big name like that, it kind of gets glossed over. But look, the right guy won. In the post-fight interview, they asked Figueroa in plain English because he was whining and bitching and moaning about how he thought he won the fight, right? And when it came time to answer the question of if he would do a rematch, he said no. And then he said no, I'm going to move up to 126, but then I want to fight him. Like he was double talking a lot in the post-fight interview, when Cool Boy was just saying like, look, hey, I'll fight you in the rematch. If you got a problem with it, we can run it back and I'll beat you again. But Figueroa didn't really seem too keen on that, because why? He knows he lost. So with that being said, and with that being firmly established here on True School Sports, let me just say this. Now, those of y'all out there know I have a hard time liking Fulton. I'm a bit mad at him because he beat my boy Angelo Leo. He beat him for the world title, but I respect him because he's a talented fighter. And I'm no hater. As you guys know, I'm no hater. I think with that win, now with Fulton being 20-0, unified, champion at 122. He's the man at 122. I think, in my humble opinion, I think Stephen Fulton is top 10 pound for pound in boxing. He is a top 10 pound for pound fighter in the sport of boxing. Now, you may say, BT, why How dare you? How could you put Stephen Fulton top 10 pound for pound? The reason I have Stephen Fulton top 10 pound for pound is because, first and foremost, you guys that love to talk about resumes, so many people love to pull out that piece of paper and talk about what fighters have done on the resume. The reality is this: at this moment in time, at the time he's shooting this video, it's November 28th. It's roughly like 6 o'clock p.m. here, Pacific time in Las Vegas. Stephen Fulton is 20-0. And of those 20 wins, 9 of them are against undefeated fighters, such as Angelo Leo, Brandon Figueroa, Adam Lopez, and Joshua Greer. So it's not like and Isaac Avalar. It's not like he's just beating bums or nobodies or cannon fodder opposition as undefeated fighters. He's beating some undefeated world champions, prime guys at the peak of their careers, and beating them at their own game. So he's beating undefeated prime fighters, which is what we ask fighters to do, right? Then you ask fighters to show a diverse skill set. So there's been fights where Stephen Fulton showed you the inside fighting, like against Angelo Leo and Brandon Figueroa. There's been fights where he showed you more of his outside boxing. There's been fights where he showed you the ability to slug. There's been fights where he showed you his combinations. He's showing you an overall skill set, which is what you look for in a pound-for-pound fighter. So he ticks the boxes: resume, fighting undefeated prime fighters, showing a complete overall skill set, and unifying a division, being winning multiple titles in a weight class. He's literally ticking every single box in boxing, and I don't think people are giving Stephen Fulton his flowers and his just due for where he really should be. In my opinion, he is top 10 pound for pound. He don't gotta be high on the pound for pound list, but he at least 10. He's at least 10, because there's not a lot of fighters, especially from this country, especially in the great country of America, that are doing what Stephen Fulton's doing. Fighting different types of fights, winning all types of fights against top competition, and unifying weight class. So it's not like I want to sit here and be saying this because, again, he beat my boy Angelo Leo, but I'm no hater. I'm no hater of anybody. Stephen Fulton is doing everything you guys say you want your favorite fighters to do. He's fighting the best. He's giving you great fights. He's showing you skills. He's unifying titles. He's fighting prime. He's fighting prime undefeated champions, and he's not ducking anybody either. Like, I know there's other fighters whose names I'm not going to mention, but there's other fighters that fight undefeated champions, but they pick and choose when they want to fight undefeated champions. This guy's fighting the best available competition in his weight class. Now, I know at this point in time, he's unified champion. Mirjan Akhmadaliev is a unified champion. That if he wins that fight, he'll be undisputed super bantamweight champion of the world. Now, I don't know if that fight's going to get made or how realistic that fight getting made actually is, because Mirjan's with the zone. But if it is, I want to see a unification fight, because then that would really, really cement what I already think about Stephen Fulton, and that is that right now, at this moment in time, in late 2021, he is a top 10 pound fighter. And if you think otherwise, you either A, are mad and think he got a good decision against Figueroa, which he didn't. I think it was a close fight that he won clearly. But you either think Figueroa got the decision and you hate Fulton for whatever reason. You either hate him or you just not informed on boxing. So it is what it is. But Stephen Fulton, credit to him. Shout out to the Warriors in Philadelphia. Right now, he's got Philadelphia boxing on his back. And we talk about a lot of fighters here in America that we wish would do certain things. But here we have a guy in front of us who's doing certain things, who's fighting top champions, who's showing us great skills, who's giving us entertainment value inside the ring and outside the ring. How could you say you proclaim to be a fan of boxing and say that you don't rate Stephen Fulton as a top class fighter? The way I see it, Stephen Fulton is a creme de la creme A-level fighter. And if you have anything else to say about that, then I have nothing else to say to you when it pertains to the sport of boxing. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Stephen Fulton, in my humble opinion, beat Brandon Figueroa. It was a close fight, but it was a clear close fight. It wasn't a robbery or anything like that. This wasn't John Ryder versus Callum Smith. This wasn't Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev. This wasn't none of those fights. This was a fight that was close, but the right man won the fight, and he's beaten 9 undefeated fighters in 20 fights. Almost half of his resume in boxing is undefeated fighters. So if that guy's on the pound for pound list, if a guy who's doing that, who's unified champion, who's giving you great fights, isn't pound for pound top 10, then I don't know what the fuck pound for pound top 10 is. But I'll leave it at that. You guys can have your opinions. You can agree, you can disagree, but like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.